So let's go on. This is a very interesting topic, and because mergers and acquisitions, it's been a driver for this industry from quite some time. And so, Aloisio, nice to see you. We'll be letting you introduce yourself. I'm just going to make an introduction about what I feel is happening in the world of mergers and acquisitions, and then we're going to pick your brain into your experiences in that field.
All right.
We're gonna ask. I know you're a lawyer, so we're just gonna use your half side of your lawyer's mind because we want to use the other side, because mergers and acquisitions.
They're mixed.
Mixed, yes. Mergers and acquisitions is more than lawyers, correct? Now, the topic is interesting because we're gonna do the launching of a book that I just finished. Is the Spanish version. The English version will come soon. But in my review, it was very interesting to analyze that there was a period of year 2000 to 2010 where a number of mergers and acquisitions happened, and it's really it's not coincidental that at that same time is when all the reports about remittances started to come up. The Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, the work that other organizations, Manuel Orozco also in the Inter-American Dialogue, they started publishing data about remittances and making evident that migrants did exist, and yes, they were sending money. Yes, we were sending money 20 years before that, but you're just in the background. In a world where nobody even knew, and some organizations even didn't believe really that there were so many remittances, so many migrants, because migration, undocumented migrants were not even counted, And I had discussions, as I say in the book, with, for example, DEA agents, which they didn't believe that remittances were real and there were migrants sending money. For them, in their own view of the world, everything was money laundering, especially to Colombia, Mexico, Dominican Republic. So right when that happened, when remittances really became, analyzed, when data started coming out about how many migrants were coming, the migrant wave, et cetera, is when some, investors started saying, hey, this looks good. This is increasing, and then we saw RIA being purchased by Euronet, which we saw Vigo being purchased first by the group, a finance group, and then by Western Union, and a number of the mergers and acquisitions happening in that period of time. It's interesting. Right after the end of that period is when digital started coming out, with Zoom being the pioneer. Although I had a meeting in London about 3 months ago with Bhairav Trivedi, and Bhairav says that he was the first that made a Pay Quick and was purchased by Citibank, and that was the first online money transfer application that went into the market. But anyway, we saw Zoom come in, and then the others, World Remit, Remitly, et cetera. So and then we're experiencing another round of mergers and acquisitions, and most of them is my point of view, and I would like to discuss it with people that are involved in this. Is that is coming mostly in expanding the distribution channels. It's more geographical. It is not technology driven, although there are some mergers and acquisitions that are technology driven, but there's mergers and acquisitions happening with, let's say, the medium-sized companies. We saw the announcement by Dolex. We saw the merger with Dolex and Barry, which by the way, congratulations for that being made. It's an interesting thing happen. And we saw Banco Inter from Brazil acquiring Usa Pontual in the United States. And we've been involved in some of these mergers and acquisitions. And it's so interesting that each one of them has its own flavor, has its own way of happening. Sometimes, and most of the time, it's not even sometimes money, it's culture, is making sure that 1 + 1 is equal to 3 and not equal to 2. So I wanted just to make this introduction in a subject that it's been all around this industry. We've seen some crypto companies buying money transfer companies, not too much, and which what is happening right now maybe not that much, but we saw, for example, Bitpesa purchased Transfer Zero in Spain, and Luis is around, Luis Campronero, who made that happen, and then Bitpesa became Asa Finance. That was one, but we have not seen that much. We have not seen that many traditional players being bought by fintechs or by digital players, or the other way around. It might happen. It might start to happen. I don't know, but I think that this subject is always been around, and so today we're going to discuss. So I'm going to let Priscilla, you go on.
So we have Ben. This is a really nice panel because when I talked to you in Brazil, I said I really want to have a worldwide discussion, not only with the Brazil team, of how Brazil and U.S. is able to merge together in Banco Inter to really be able to do this. And I think this is a topic that, let's be real, it's a taboo. Whenever I try to find panelists to be sitting in this chair to talk about their M&A, nobody wants to be here. So first, I applaud you for being here to be able to share some of the experience. No, but it is a taboo. A lot of companies, we're not here to give you a playbook on how to do it, but we are here to share what was the learnings, what were the things that you could have done better, and what are the things that worked really well. So the idea, Aloisio, today is for you not to give out the playbook, and we applaud you for really being able to share this experience, but for us to talk about the process, what was your learnings, and what can the audience learn from the wonderful job that you guys have been doing on these mergers and acquisitions. So I'll start with the first question that I had, and I wanted to talk about Brazil and the US. So they're very different markets. So how do you see these two ecosystems being building together, and how is that part of your experience?
Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Hugo, for the invitation to be here. First of all, you asked me to introduce myself.
Please introduce yourself, because
Yes.
you have, I mean, I met you some, I don't know, 10 years ago?
About 10 years ago,
About
yeah.
10 years ago, and you were in a different field. So tell us a little bit about your journey into the money transfer world before.
Yeah, so I have a legal background. I had a law firm. So I always worked with banking regulation, financial compliance, and in Brazil. So Brazil has the regulation in the past years has evolved a lot. And when we talk about cross-border payments and transactions and remittances, we have an additional component, which is the taxation. It's very complex, and the AML rules there are I would say, a little bit stricter than the most of the countries. So I have dedicated many years into that. And I have worked with a lot of fintech companies in Brazil, and a lot of US and international companies, and a lot of crypto companies wanting to do business in Brazil. And that's how I started to do business with Pontual Usen a couple of years ago. And I ended up joining Pontual Usen as a partner, and decided to to leave the legal business aside and join Fernando in the journey of growing the business, in which we ended up selling to Inter. We are now taking care of the whole cross-border and remittance business in the Inter level.
That's great. And some of you know, but for us, Fernando, I mean, we known him, you know, through IMTC because we've seen all his journey. When I heard the deal happened, I said to Fernando, I feel proud myself because I've seen it happen through the years. So tell us. I think we can follow up with the question that Priscilla asked. Tell us more about the journey and what you can share that anyone contemplated a merger and acquisition should have in mind. Tell us.
Okay, so just before I get into answer your question, so just to give you a big picture of what we are doing and where the M&A came in. So we started with a regular brick and mortar business, agent business model. We evolved it to a digital remittance business and a payment aggregator model. And more recently, with our licenses in the US, we decided to focus also on digital wallets to immigrants. So we saw an opportunity to offer the digital wallet in the US for the Brazilian residents. So at the time, we were focusing on these four main services: remittances through agents, online remittances, payment aggregator, and the digital wallet. So we were working on those four projects, and in the meantime, we're talking to investors and looking for raising some capital to deploy all these projects. And about a year ago, it was a very interesting time because we started being approached by different players that wanted to know more about us. And exactly between June and August of 2021, we had 3 offers on the table from 3 different players, 3 totally different businesses. One was from the crypto space, so looking to have our licenses in the U.S., our integrations, bank integrations, and everything that we built from a more regulated side of the business. So they wanted to have that. So that was one of the players that was looking to acquire us. The other one was actually another remittance business that wanted to expand to Latin America and grow the presence in the U.S. and also to have the payouts in Brazil and Latin America. So was totally different approach from the crypto company. And then we had Inter, which is a digital bank in Brazil that grew a lot in the last 5 years, growing from 300,000 customers to 22 million customers in 5 years. So, and that has built a super app ecosystem with all types of services, not only financial services. And they're looking.
And when I want to say, which is interesting when I research the Inter, is that it comes from a construction company building housing and then becoming the financial. Doing the financial side of providing mortgages for those apartments.
Exactly.
So it's a very interesting way because banks are built from different purposes, and Inter was built by the necessity of building, because that's the core, the beginning of that
You're right.
group. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The bank was founded 28 years ago. So for 22 years, they focused mainly on the mortgages for their real estate business. And then in the last 6 years, they decided to go digital. So it was the first free digital account in Brazil, 100% free
didn't know that.
digital account. So, and that was totally new in Brazil. And at the time, there was a big discussion in Brazil from a regulatory perspective saying, oh, it's not possible to open an account 100% digital. And people saying, that, where does it say in the regulation? So that's when we go after the regulation. And a lot of times we hear people, you can't do this or you can't do that. But when you go after the regulation, that's not there. So interaction.
It's just not done.
It's just not done.
And then you change it.
So Inter actually did the digital business. So the purpose of buying Pontual USN was to actually expand the business from Brazil, grow that ecosystem from, okay, we have built everything in Brazil. Now let's build this in the US so we can offer services for our Brazilian customers that have a bunch of products in Brazil. They can also have different products in the US. And with our license, integration, everything that we have in the US, our Brazilian customers can have that. And also, it's a door to offer the same things that Inter have built successfully in Brazil can be offered in the US through the same experience that was very well accepted by the Brazilian customers. So 3 different offers on the table from an M&A perspective, 3 different goals, 3 different price, 3 different everything. And on our side, when we were talking to investors, we were approached by many of them. We never know what is in the mind of someone that is actually trying to acquire you. And you never know how much they're willing to pay you because you don't know how much value you might be adding to that company. So what is the value that a money service business in the US can add to a digital bank in Brazil with a 22 million customer base? I don't know. They can say that. I can't say that.
Now, you had 3 offers on the table.
Yes.
All right. We're not going to give up, but it's basically very similar in pricing.
I wouldn't say very similar, but
that was not a critical issue.
I wouldn't say, I won't say that Inter's proposal wasn't the highest one.
Yeah, and what I mean is where I'm getting at, and in our discussions, Aloisio, is that sometimes price is important, sometimes it's not. And we've discussed that because it's always my point of view is okay, yes, price is important, of course, everything, but let's put price on one side and look at the other things. What are those other things, Aloisio?
Well, so when any company is buying, so it's a larger company in our case, so it was a larger company buying a smaller company that does something that they did not do. So they did not do cross-border, they did not do remittance, they did not handle licenses in the US. So they needed the whole team. So we knew that M&A was the beginning of a marriage of some X years moving ahead. So, and discussing with the potential new buyers of the acquirers, we wanted to choose who would be the one that we wanted to be together for the next couple of years. So price was an important component, yes, but the terms and conditions for which we would be together for those years ahead, that was something that we had to take into consideration before we decided who we would go ahead with.
So would you say that people was the main driver of your decision?
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
And I think I wanted to highlight on that point is when we're talking about merger and acquisition, you're buying human capital, right? And yes, price is important, the P&L, the EBITDA, all those things is always on the table, but who is going to execute and continue to fulfill the strategy, the product ownership? And I think I love what you said about marriage. So I think this is a true example is how do you marriage both teams? And is there trust? And how do they feel connected? And I think that links us to culture, right? And I think now where we are living in a culture of, you know, that they call it a resignation. Right now, more than ever, I've met with a lot of you yesterday, and I had somebody tell me yesterday, we hired 9 and we lost 7. We're only able to keep 2. And you know who you are, you're here in the audience. And so my point is when we're doing these marriages and these mergers and acquisition, the culture that you're combining, I think to me, on the deals we've seen in our consulting division, that is the key. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. And not only that, so on the discussion phase of the M&A, it's very important that the parties are aligned before you get the lawyers involved and the due diligence involved, because usually there's a big process after that. And there are big law firms on both sides, and they want to dig in a lot of things, and they make you fight at the end. So as a lawyer, I can say it's terrible. The whole process, it's very stressful. So if you, as a party, is not very aligned with the other side, the deal doesn't happen. If you do not get to the legal part with the contract very aligned on what you want to do, what that business is going to be after that, the lawyers on both sides, they can make that business ruin. So we have been through, so there's a lot of due diligence. It's a process of 6 months of negotiating contracts and everything. So it's very important to have good people, good advisors by you, helping you, keeping you sane and knowing how to discuss and how to negotiate and how to make you come to the finish line.
How many lawyers we have, just by a show of hands? Good, I can talk bad about lawyers. That's good. I just wanted to say, you know, how many were very few. Well, no, it is, I think it is a good point. I have worked with lawyers in this industry for many things. Contract reviews, for example, or litigations, which is not a good side. I mean, some people like that, but you know, just use my expertise for litigation is not something that I really enjoy, because most of the time I know the players, so it's like taking sides. So it is not where I want to be. Discussing contracts and in mergers and acquisitions, that's a very important point, because yes, and sometimes you know, discussing with lawyers, yes, there are points to be made in each side, but it's a lot of ego trips. I'm sorry to say that. It's a lot of, this is how I want it, and it should be said like that. And especially when you have people from different countries, even UK and the United States, it means the same. No, it's not the same. And I said, well, you know, it is a lot of culture in the way you want to write things. And sometimes the clauses, you know, for somebody like me, which I'm not a lawyer, I say, it says the same thing. Why we keep on discussing things? So those mergers and acquisitions, that is very important. Yes, of course you need lawyers. Of course you need the review on each side. But if there is not an alignment of the two parties really wanting to get to the finish line, some of them just don't reach the finish line because of some things that happen that, in my point of view, I say it again, not as a legal expert, is BS. You know, at the end. And for me, as a consultant, I get very frustrated. sometimes because we were so close to the finish line and we're discussing things that really they're little at the end of the
Would
game.
you say, Aloisio, in your experience, that in those moments with all the lawyers interfering both sides, the element of the good relationship between Inter and USAND made things move things faster, and then in some cases have the trust to be able to say, yes, the paperwork says this, but let's do this now because we can't wait. How do you maneuver that, the pace, the speed, and the collaboration between the two parties to get to the finish line, like you said?
So the goal of the lawyers is to put the risks aside.
Yes.
So, and that's not gonna happen. The contract, if you're gonna put the risk from your side to another.
Yeah.
So you gotta be, if you wanna make things move forward, you gotta take the risk from the contract as well. So you gotta understand, okay, what is the risk? So for example, we had like a big discussion of what is the amount of escrow for the litigation? We never had a litigation before. And it's had hours and hours discussing it. Okay, guys, let's move on. Yeah. We'll accept that. So if you don't take some risks there, you won't finish it.
And I think you have to be brave, right? And you have to take a stand. And if this is something that you really need your company to purchase to stay on the market, it's something that you have to take the risk. And one of the things I've been hearing a lot today and yesterday is time to market. A lot of these mergers and acquisitions are happening in order for companies to really be able, not build, but to buy, and then to be able to compete. Because if not, there is a saying that they say, then you're just going to disappear. So I think time to market is very key for the merger and acquisition. Can we talk about that?
Yes, no, it's interesting also the compliance side of things.
Yes.
You have to do due diligence, and there is a due diligence compliance. And again, how many of you are compliance or working compliance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I want. Good. What is interesting that I have seen through the years with mergers and acquisitions is that it became a time where that due diligence and compliance was very complex, and there was, and one side would feel that the other side, their compliance was not good enough, and there was risks involved in that. I've seen that fade out a little bit because we matured as an industry in being very compliant, and also because compliance rules across the world have kind of level out in a way. So this, and I'm going to a question here, is how that compliance due diligence played out. I might right in assuming that we gone through we gone through a change in that compliance risk aspect. What do you think?
So we had the legal due diligence, we had the financial due diligence, and we also had the compliance due diligence as well. And on the compliance due diligence, what they did was 2 types of due diligence. One was to understand our policies and procedures and what we do and everything, and scrutiny on everything. And also they tested a lot of things as a customer. So, okay, you tell us here that after $1,000 you request A, B, and C, so they would have someone as a customer to place a transaction and see if we're actually doing what we had in our policies and procedures. So they had
mystery shopping.
they had
Okay.
They had if I'm not wrong, they had a crawl hired to do this.
Okay. They hired the company to do that.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Good. So, but I'm assuming that it was not a big issue.
Well, the result I know that they did, and we passed everything. So there was no issue for us, but they did it.
Yes. No, but what I mean is, I'm confirming what I have seen happening is that, let's say 10, 15 years ago, the compliance side was very complex, was very difficult. It became a difficult point to, it's really not anymore.
I think the rules are very clear now.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
the rules are very clear. So there's there's no room for
very
you
little
to,
gray areas now.
Yeah.
And in regulation also.
In regulation also.
In regulation also.
Yes.
That was a big thing before. And there is a good case for someone who likes that when Vigo, a money transfer company in the United States, was first acquired. There was money put in escrow, and then there was a litigation because of regulatory issues with Brazil. And it's a whole discussion, and you can read it online, and how the judge finally said, I'm sorry, you guys did due diligence. If you didn't know what were the risks in Brazil, this is a U.S. judge saying it. So, but things have changed so much. So I think that clearing all, making the regulation more straightforward, the compliance more straightforward, more aligned, those things are not really an issue that much anymore, as it is strategy, as it is why you want to do that, and how the teams are aligned. Because yes, most people who build companies that want to sell the company, they're selling their baby. And they want, even if they have to sign an agreement that they will work as the CEO or as board a couple of years, etc. You care for your team. Yeah. You're handling. I mean, you want that team to continue there and being well treated as you treated them, and that's an issue. And I think there was an issue in this case too. I mean, there was a desire for the team to feel good about the future and the cultural alignment going forward. Correct?
Yes, yes. So it's a process. It's a process. So we, after the acquisition, so we concluded the acquisition in January. So we are migrating into I wouldn't say a big structure, but it's a lot bigger than our structure. So right now it's adapting to, we need to adapt to different rules, different procedures, but the vision is very clear to everyone of where the business is going to. So it's going to be international business. So what the U.S. business is going to be, the U.S. business is going to play an important role out of this. So with that clear to everyone, and given that we, as an acquired company, the team is not doing something that the acquirer already do, so it's much easier. It's different that, let's say, remittance company A bought a remittance company B, and we do exactly the same thing. Those scenarios are more difficult for the team. But in our case,
when you have to choose, okay, we're going to take the CEO from here, and we're going to take the CEO from here, and
exactly.
and we're going to merge these compliance teams doing this and this and this. Yeah, that can.
Do you feel that because
that's
of the merger and acquisition, new opportunities are coming your way that you wouldn't come before?
I think it happens faster with the merger and acquisition because we have two businesses in parallel. Yes. If you think so, we had Inter Brazil was already doing its business. USAN in the US was already doing its business. Now it's only one thing, but we're capturing so USAN was here, and I at CrossTech, IMTC for many years. So we're still here, capturing opportunities, doing business. And let's say that Inter decided to, okay, let's start doing business in the cross-border industry. How long would they take to be here, to understand, to build a team, build technology, and to do all that? Now they have a company and they're ready to do this. So I think that, I wouldn't say M&A is easy, but it's quick. time to market, it's very good for the time to market. If you choose the right player, it's a very good thing. It's rewarding.
And you choose a good partner to be on your marriage.
For sure. Yes.
I think that's the key of this talk. I think trust, culture, and of course having your legal advisors, your compliance team. But you know the core for you to be able to get to closing, which is everybody's deal, is to build that trust. So I wanted to open up after we're done with this talk. If you guys have any questions, if you want to talk about Aloisio experience, to please look for him, because I know I receive these questions a lot on our consulting side. And I think this is a good opportunity to be able to talk transparently into the learnings. So I want to thank you so much for really being here with us and sharing your learnings. And another closing statement I wanted to say is, a lot of you are currently looking for new opportunities, so you can beat time to market, so you can accelerate growth. And so I want you to take some of these takeaways with you. So, and it's okay if we weren't able to answer all the questions. You can look for us after this session.
Priscilla, may I comment? Just
course.
make one comment. So when we started this process, we heard from a lot of people that, oh, you guys are going to take at least 1 year to approve the merger and acquisition with all the state regulators in the U.S. And we had to approve that in 43 states, and we approved 100% in 90 days.
Wow.
So
that's surprising.
Yeah. So
that says a lot for regulators.
Yeah. So
don't take no for an answer.
And we got everything approved in the last week of December. So it was pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
And we have just a minute. We have a minute left, and I was just going to take this time just to make an announcement, because it happened, and we were instrumental in our consulting area to make this deal happen. So where is Alex? Come here. We're going to share, because this is brand new.
Hot off the press.
We worked with Alex and PMI Americas and a company in Spain, TKS. So we went through the process, and the only thing that we were waiting to start the process, but we started the process already, it was an approval from the Banco de España, which we got. So I'm going to let you make the announcement, because this is great news for you, for your company, for a company in Latin America, crossing the Atlantic and being part of the European market.
Thank you so much. And yes, and great opening up like that, because it's a challenge, and it's a great feeling when everything comes together. And yes, thank you, Hugo, because we actually have been working well with you behind the scenes a little bit, and we wanted to expand for a while. We wanted to expand into Europe. We have a really good coverage so far in Latin America. We operate out of Mexico, but we also have presence in 7 other countries in Latin America, mostly with licenses. So our natural expansion was looking for Europe. And it was challenging, because we looked at UK, we looked at Lithuania. There was a lot of options. And eventually, we kind of got a little tired of all the different complexities of different countries. And that's when you brought us this opportunity. And this one was in Spain. It was a license in Spain, which, number one, it helps naturally our continent. So the relationship between Latin America and Spain was essential. But the fact that you can passport out eventually into Europe was the perfect combination. So we acquired PayTKS, and we're very happy. PayTKS, Luis is not here, but PayTKS was, a great fit for us. They were actually doing something similar, which is technology-based, white labeling a little bit into money remittances, cross-border payments is something that we do. We mostly focus on B2B solutions that end up in the hands of a beneficiary. So we do B2C or B2B2C. And I believe this acquisition is going to give us a lot of good coverage. It's going to be an extension, and we want to provide a good service. And if we can initiate the payment in Spain and finish it in Latin America with our own system, we can only guarantee the quality of our service. And I think that's really the objective.
Yes, and I want to also mention that Lourdes Soto, our partner in Spain, Lourdes is around. Is she here? No, but she was instrumental in this because she was part of building PTKS or PTKS. So congratulations. We're looking forward for your success, and thank you for sharing this with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much.